All right. So week 10. Just for a moment, imagine we're 9 weeks away from ending this class. Okay. And we're 2 weeks away from the next dev project. So at this point, and I mentioned this in week 9, so I'm going to bring it back around again. At this point in our Udemy course and in our skill acquisition, we have pretty much everything we need. There is one caveat there, which I'll mention, but you have everything you need to create your Dev 1 project, right? Remember, the way I've been trying to organize what you've been learning is in a term that's very common called a CRUD app. So a create, right? So when we're creating our form, we're allowing the user to give us this input when that is the create part. And then when we get that user input, we process it through our own decision code for our Learn Together or for our dev work and however that topic goes, right? Then we're storing that and then we're reading it from storage. So we have the C and the R. And then the delete we saw as well. Andrew walked us through how to delete. And now this week we work on the U, the update. And this is a really cool thing to do. And I would say in some sense, this is, you have to, because your decision path. And when I say decision path, what I'm talking about is like, here's the decision I'm trying to make. For me, what am I going to do in the morning based on what time I get up, right? What's the current time? Maybe not the time I get up, but what time is it when I'm looking at it, thinking about what I can do in the morning? There's like 4 things that go into it. 4 key inputs for me to have my code, then give me, here's the suggested morning task you can do. So now I have to think about, and this week you'll need to think about for the Learn Together is how do you update? Now, and this is, I'm going to bring this back again, because remember when Andrew does his notes or his to-dos, he's just getting the information and presenting it back. And we are taking it a step further, right? We are getting the information, processing it, right? And then presenting something back to the user that may or may not be what the input was. In my case, it's not. But this week, actually, for my Learn Together code, which I just finished the video for that, walking you through what you need to do, I ended up updating my code such that I actually saved my inputs so that I could show them on my edit screen. So this week we learned how to do a new page. And that's where Andrew shows us how he's implementing the edit concept, okay? Now, and I say this, so it's a little bit of a repeat to what you're going to hear on the Learn Together, but, students in the past class who have a lot more knowledge coming in actually have figured out other ways to do the edit. If you're new, don't just do it the way you were learning here rather than to try to go off in another direction. Just my suggestion. Okay, so the thing I want to go over is a little bit of something that you may run into with the code along, because I've been, as you hopefully know, I'm actually making a clean sweep through the code along this year and writing more. Maybe you don't know, you don't have to, but I'm actually writing new instruction for that. And it's good because it's making me see some of the things that I look forward to a change, because I am considering changing from Andrew's course in the fall 2022 semester. I'm not sure. One thing I kind of knew this somewhere, but when I saw it in this section that we just did, is that how, and in this case, we see some video where he is coding back in 2018. And when you think about, we're at 2022, so it's 4 years ago. But that doesn't mean the whole course is 4 years ago. It actually means that those particular videos, and I get this too, is sometimes you record video and it's like, that stuff doesn't really change, so you don't need to change it, but there are other things that you do. So anyway, but I have been considering looking, and that'll be my summer project this year, is actually looking at a new course, Udemy course for JavaScript. Not sure what I'll do, but I just want you to know. But anyway, in going through that content, I realized that there's one thing that could trip you up, so I want to cover that. But the thing I want you, and once I show you that, thing I want to see in your reply is this, so that you have this in your head. I want you to think about it. For week 9, I think I did it for week 8. For week 9 last week, or the week you're currently in. I didn't record a video or I pushed my code for the Learn Together, but I didn't go over it. And, I'm willing to do it. I just haven't had anybody tell me it's been helpful to them. Have I? I don't think. So if it's helpful to you, please let me know, and I'd be more than happy to do it, right? But if nobody's looking at it, which is okay too, I don't have a vested interest. I just want to give you more content if you want to see more in depth what my code along example was. Okay, so going back here, so in this last section, so part 2 of section 8, we learn about the edit page. And I love these shows syncing across pages, but I honestly don't think it's as important. You still need to code it. And he talks about dates, right? So we're going to do, but the most of our Learn Together focus is going to be around the edit. But having said that, and here's the notes output as of the end of that section. And you end up creating, when you render the DOM, you create a link, and that link goes to, opens up a new HTML page, okay? And you learn all about why we're implementing this UUID, so we can uniquely identify an item, right? And then we're using that by reading the browser and all that, and that's great stuff to know, right? But here's what I want to tell you, because our setup, right? And for most of you, if you're opening up the CIT93SP22, right? And then within that, like for me, I have everybody's, but for me, right, here's my public and private, and that probably is what it looks like for you, right? And he starts talking about this at the very beginning of the code along, right? And he talks about relative versus absolute paths. And just let me give you that content, because that is really, even if you don't completely understand it, right? The relative path is relative to the output, the current path, the current directory. And when he codes up the a ref to go to the separate page, he uses a / because his particular setup is such that it is the absolute path, but ours is not. So let me show you just in the code that you're going to end up writing. And actually you write it for the index page when you have that done, and also for his edit. So right now, this again is the output, and this works, right? Goes to that page, opens it up. I know it's a little hard to see that, but you'll learn that as you get through. Let me show you what happens if you put the / here. Oh, let me just do it there. Oh, my keyboard, of course, went out. Oh, I love that. I love that one. My keyboard, I need a new battery. If you put a / like he shows in the code along, guess what will happen when I refresh this page and I click is I must have been on the wrong folder. Was I on the to-dos? Let me make sure. Let me go back, make sure. Actually, one thing I can do is hit inspect just to make sure I have the last one. Oh, and it didn't. Okay. Now let me make sure it should. All right, hold on. Let me see what that was. Okay, that took me a second to realize I was on the wrong JavaScript. I was actually on the Node.js, and actually that should have been index, right? And that's when after you submit it, it just brings you back to the index page. Okay, so actually where I should have been, and actually it's true of any time you use this set attribute for aref. So again, here's the way it is now. Let me actually do this correctly this time. So if I refresh, right, again, this is what you're gonna learn how to do. It brings you into the edit page, shows you how to grab that one specific note and then render that to the page. It does give you the opportunity, again, it gives you the inputs, right? This is another way you could handle the update as you kind of look to the week 10. But watch what will happen is if I do what Andrew shows in the code along for this week. I'm just going to refresh real quick. And when I click on it, it will break it. It will say cannot get / index, because that absolute path, right, for me, does not have the edit because of these directory structures. So just know, right? Just, note to self, whenever you're writing these arefs, and I put a note in the code along, but I just want to show you as well that concept, that it will break it unless you don't include the / And because of our directory structure, which, by the way, the one way you could fix this if you were interested was just open this folder in your VS Code. Right? That's one of the things you can do, because then that will be your absolute path, and then that / would work fine. But typically, even on web servers, unless there's a specific need, you don't do that, because that root server may be higher up in the chain. Other reasons why, not a big deal. I just want you to know, because I know it's one thing to work through this learn to get this code along work. But I just want you to know that, hopefully if you run into that, it won't be as much of an issue. Okay, so the thing I said in the intro was about the whole week 8 to week 9. So we're finishing week 8, or sorry, section 8, and then we're moving into week 9. Here's the good news about section 9, not week 9, section 9, is there's not really any new functionality in week 9 that we're adding to what we've learned. We're just kind of refining it. We're learning how to do arrow functions, learning about ternary operators, truthy values, coercion, which I realized I was using and didn't even think about it, throwing errors, which is really handling errors. I love that. I really look forward to us doing this content, but there's nothing new as far as functionality that we're learning. So you have everything you need. Okay, this is my whole point here. At this point, you definitely could be working on your Dev 1. So let's just go look, even though I've given you the requirements, right? At this point, is actually, my goal is to work ahead now that I'm kind of just settling back into a daily process. Well, I was doing a daily process. That's not the point. But here's, the requirements. And really, it's just creating CRUD operations, making sure that all those CRUD operations work for your particular concept. Now, again, I've shown you in the Learn Together this week kind of how I approach the update part of CRUD. Okay, but here's the one thing is you do need to, in this dev, is implement at least 2 examples of JavaScript code that's not been covered in this course. These don't have to be elaborate, right? I just want to see that you can go find some new functionality, make it work, be able to talk about it. The other thing is 95% of your code needs to be in a function, right? So at least 2 inputs. I really want to say more here than 2, but, and also, some kind, and again, think about CRUD, right? So create, what kind of inputs does your particular topic need? Mine needed several. Actually, maybe next week I will show you my example, because I already have it done, of my Dev 1. And I'm keeping the same topic, my EV charging rate, charging tracking system. So I'll go over that next week. Okay. Okay. So I just wanted you to kind of have that as we move into this last section, is that you could be, if your time allows, working or coming to talk to me, really would be the other thing. This is a perfect week to come talk to me, right? When you're thinking about the calendar, right? Too. Just now is a great time to be working. Let me change this to 93, because 95 is a little different for this dev. But for us, oof, I know that is so hard to see, right? So our Dev 1 is going to be right here. So I'm in week 9. I'm recording for week 10. So, any time is a great time to come talk about, anything that you're working on for your Dev 1, or you're fixing from Dev 0, right? Any of that is a great time to come. All right. Hope this helps. And again, I ask you for a specific thing in the reply. You're welcome to comment on anything else, but in the beginning, I did ask you for a specific thing, so make sure you do the heads up for that. Have a great week. Should I say goodbye? Peace out.